Phil, obviously you've covered Cristiano Ronaldo's career extensively in Spain, and there is a bit of a distance, isn't there, between what he's achieved both in Spain and everywhere else he's played in terms of the goals, the trophies won, the reputation, and what he's done for the national side. What do you put that down to?
Well, am I allowed to push back a bit and say, actually, he's achieved quite a lot with the national team in winning the Euros and winning the Nations League as well? Yes, all right. You know, not many teams can win the World Cup. Only one team can win it every 4 years, and Portugal haven't been able to do that. But he won the Euros with them, and they won the Nations League. And I know the Nations League isn't a major tournament, but you have to beat some pretty good teams to do that. Not least Spain in the final when they won that. So I wouldn't necessarily suggest that it's been a failure or even not as successful. He's had tremendous success throughout his club career. Wherever he's gone, he's won trophies. He's won fewer international trophies because it's perhaps harder to win international trophies. But I wouldn't say it's a failure for him not to have won the World Cup. But there is, obviously, in the back of his mind, I'm sure, and everybody who is a massive fan of Ronaldo, of whom there are millions all over the world, there is this obvious little asterisk in his glorious career that he hasn't won the World Cup, and he's not going to win the World Cup. And in his last World Cup, I think it was patently obvious to everyone that he once was one of the best players of the world and maybe of all time. He is not anymore, and he hasn't been for a few years now. I remember being at the Euros 2 years ago, being in the stadium. I think I covered every single Portugal game thinking, what's going on? You know, why is he still starting? Surely he can't be starting. And here he is 2 years later, still starting. He scored 3 goals, which he seems to think in the pre-match press conference to the Spain game, he was quite bigging himself up, saying, you know, it's not that bad. It's pretty good, isn't it? You know, I haven't done that bad. 3 goals at the World Cup. But I think everybody who is entirely objective on this matter will objectively look at this and think, yeah, you know, you're no longer the great, extraordinary player that you once were.
Phil, there's a moment in every aging player or athlete's career where you're a little bit delusional, where you think you can still do it, but your body can't. And normally your mind is 3 years behind your body. Like you keep going, oh, I can still. So when you talk to those bits about Ronaldo, are you laying the blame at his feet or at the manager's feet for keep playing him?
Well, he will want to keep playing, won't he? You know, there are very few players that know exactly the right time to go out. I can think of a couple off the top of my head, and they're Toni Kroos and Zinedine Zidane, who went out at the peak of their powers. That was the right time to go out. But obviously, Cristiano Ronaldo, he's gone to Saudi and he's scored more goals, and I think he's won some trophies there. And, you know, they did win the Nations League with Portugal recently as well. So you can make an argument. You can use statistics and trophies and goals to make an argument to suggest that actually he is still good enough to keep going. It's just that when you compare him to what he was previously, he's so miles away from that now that it's difficult, I think, to sustain that argument. And obviously there's been a lot of criticism of Roberto Martinez for playing him basically every game, all game, every game, you know, hardly taking him off, and him being plan A and plan B and C as well. It's hard to overstate the sort of cultural significance Cristiano Ronaldo has in Portugal as not just the most famous Portuguese person in the world, but just sort of, you know, a socio-cultural ambassador for this small country around the world. But I think, you know, someone should have realised it's time that he's not starting every single game for us. And maybe that someone should have been Ronaldo. Maybe someone could have sat him down and said, listen, man, you can be so useful for us. Last 10, 15, 20 minutes, you can win the game for us. You can be the match winner for us, but we're not going to start you every game. Maybe that conversation
Phil, you stumbled onto,
yeah.
I should have said it was a leading question, but you stumbled onto my next part. You say that, sit him down, take him to one side, time to be on the bench.
Yeah.
Do you see what happened when you took him off in the last game? Did you see the faces he was pulling?
Done, right?
So, again, this is part of the... I hate this part because ultimately when players come to the end, great players come to the end, it's always they're not as good as they once were. But we kind of take away how great he once was. But the big part with Ronaldo is he has a massive ego, which you need, but you cannot say that he has helped this team just in this World Cup alone. And that part there for the manager to take him out is a massive distraction. It's a massive talking point if he's on the bench because Messi's doing so well for Argentina. All of the narrative around it. So I actually think they would damned if they do, damned if they don't. But I think in this situation, Ronaldo is to blame as well because he makes it so hard to drop him.
Yeah, no, totally agree. It's just that he is such a sort of relentless winner. And I used to work at Real Madrid TV, and I used to go and watch him train every single day. We used to travel with them all over the country, all over Europe. Really quite sort of up close, seeing them work day in, day out. He was just ridiculously, relentlessly, aggressively competitive in absolutely everything that he did. He was just a monster training. Training was just incredible the way that he trained, and then that was out on the pitch, and it was absolutely fantastic what he did during the years at Real Madrid. But that is a long time ago, and someone who is as competitive and desperate to win as Cristiano Ronaldo, I thought there could have been some logic by saying, if you want to win the World Cup, and imagine your legacy if you win the World Cup, you can be more useful to us off the bench than starting every game and playing 85, 90 minutes every game. That is logic. That will help you personally, your legacy. But maybe I'm being sort of unrealistic in thinking that conversation might ever have happened.
Hey, Phil, at the end of the day, Roberto Martinez made the right decisions to continue to play him or the wrong decisions? And Ronaldo made the team better or he made the team worse?
I was looking at his touches in the opposition area. This is not always the best metric to go by, but against Democratic Republic of Congo, he had 5 touches in the opposition area. Uzbekistan, he had 10. Colombia touched the ball twice in Colombia's area. Croatia once, and that was a penalty, and tonight 3 times. That's just one metric of many that you can read. Tonight, I didn't think that I didn't look at this game and think, oh, wow, Portugal have lost because they've got Ronaldo playing on the pitch. I think there are so many deficiencies in this Portuguese side, and I'm actually stunned at how poor a World Cup that they've had. I know we're talking about Ronaldo, but allow me to just deviate and just mention how utterly ineffective Vitinha was. And I think Vitinha is one of the greatest footballers we have active in Europe at the moment, the way he can read a game, control a game. His numbers tonight were just abysmal. No chances created, no touches in the opposition penalty area, barely any completed passes, no blocks, no tackles, 1 completed dribble. Like Vitinha did nothing, and he's one of the best players in the world. So if he's doing nothing, it's not sort of fair to blame it all on Cristiano Ronaldo. So listen, Ronaldo scored 3 goals in this competition. He chipped in, doing what he can do because he physically can't do any more than this. But there's no way I think he should have played as many minutes as he has in this competition.
Phil, yeah, I definitely agree with everything that you've said. Ronaldo was boasting about himself, the way that he scored 3 goals and kind of looking at it like he's been successful this World Cup. As an outsider looking in, I think I would consider it a failure for Ronaldo this World Cup. But ultimately, what would you say is his legacy with the national team?
Like I said, there are these 2 trophies for Portugal that have been won. The Euros in 2016, which was massive for Portugal, obviously, and massive for Cristiano Ronaldo personally. And the Nations League, which they won shortly, last year against Spain, which was celebrated as a major trophy because they had to beat some good teams to win it. So I think when he looks back and when everybody looks back and think, he did actually win something, and it is not easy to win something. And there are some pretty good historical legendary figures who have never won anything with their national team. And Cristiano Ronaldo has managed to do that. It's just that it's gone on a bit too long, the last 2 tournaments. And at the Euros, I was genuinely thinking and talking to colleagues saying, he's not going to start the World Cup, is he, in 2 years? Like, this surely has to be it. And it wasn't. So I think, maybe 2 tournaments too far in terms of being the main man. But prior to that, I think he's been extremely significant in a really, really successful period for Portuguese international football.
Listen, Phil, I love you, man, but you're trying to sell sand at the beach right now. And I got to tell you, he's 41. He's played in Saudi for 2 years. He's way off the pace. Didn't deserve to be on the field. And it ultimately hurt the team, no question about it. You got Ramos on the bench, who just went to Milan for big money, scored the game-winning goal, and was left on the bench. So, yeah, we could talk about Vitinha and all these other guys that they didn't have a good tournament for sure. We're talking about, by the way, 2 center midfielders that just came off back-to-back Champions League, right? It'd be hard to point at them and say, hey, those guys are the problem. But when you play with a man down every single game because you play with a 41-year-old up top, it's difficult. You know who plays with a 41-year-old up top? Bosnia. They play with Dzeko because they don't have those kind of options. But a nation like Portugal, with the players that they have, should never have played with a 41-year-old up top that's past it.
And that's why I didn't really want to dive in. I was going to, because I know we've got to go to break. But, Phil, that's where I understand you saw Ronaldo up close. You have a lot of, you saw the work, right? So when you've seen the work, naturally you want to defend that person because they need to be defended, right? But if you're talking about the midfielders as a whole, what do all three of them do? They go, they roam, they play, they passes, but also they need runners in behind. Why are PSG so good? They have runners without the ball. Where does that come from? From the top of the pitch. Not just Ronaldo, he will get the blame because he's the biggest name. Naturally, that's part of being one of the best players in world football. But Rafael Leao, when he started, nothing. Neto, when he started, nothing. Conceição, nothing. So when we do this thing of like, oh, what about Vitinha? It's like, oh, no. These guys are good. They're very good. The structure and the framework of the team, and this is why I think Roberto Martinez will come under so much legacy pressure, because he wants to play a style of football that makes these players restricted in their movement. But if you actually watch them in their teams, they're the opposite. It's go and play, go and dominate games. And I think Ronaldo was maybe a cycle too many, but also he played a big part. To say he scored 3 goals, 2 against Uzbekistan, by the way. Not respectfully, against Uzbekistan. The other one was a penalty against Croatia, which he came off as soon as he scored. So he hasn't been a good tournament, but he has been a great player. So I want us to talk about it for right here, right now, what he has been, but also appreciate just how great he has been as well.
Best Portuguese player, I think, tonight and maybe in the whole tournament was Nuno Mendes. Maybe that should tell you something. If the left back is the standout player of an unbelievably talented Portuguese squad, these were one of the favourites coming into the start of the tournament. That's why I'm so profoundly disappointed in their performance throughout the tournament, because we expected so much more. We've touched upon some of the issues. Obviously, Cristiano Ronaldo is a glaring issue, but you're right how the midfield. How the team is structured around that midfield was wrong, because when you have those players there and they're not being involved in the game, which they weren't tonight, that's not just on them. You're right. And I'm not just here to defend Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm here to say he was an absolutely extraordinary player, one of the best of all time, but he hasn't been for a while. And we've seen that in this tournament.
And Phil, just finally, now, obviously, they're going to have to make do without Ronaldo because his World Cup and international career is over. How do they move on from this? What do you think is going to happen over the next few months? Obviously, Roberto Martinez is leaving too. What is the path forward for Portugal now?
It's funny, isn't it? Is there any chance that it's some kind of weight lifted off the team's shoulders, that they don't necessarily have the pressure of playing for Cristiano, have this huge aura presence around them? I'm not sure, but I think that psychologically there might be something to it. Obviously, they have someone like Gonzalo Ramos who can come in and play, that kind of central role. But I think emotionally, him leaving might not be the massively negative thing that we could perhaps think that it was. They've got some eminently winnable games coming up in the Nations League as well. I say that. Norway World Cup quarter-finalists, so maybe not that winnable. But this is still an extremely strong side, and with a few tweaks, I think they will be very competitive at the next Euros.
Phil, last one, really quick. Yes, Ronaldo's moving on, but so is Roberto Martinez. And I just pulled up on my phone here. He's 45 matches, 32 wins, 6 draws, 7 losses. So it's still, for as much as Roberto Martinez leaves you wanting a bit more, it's still a very difficult job to come in and do better, isn't it? Because it's still a very talented team. So what next for Portugal as a federation? Where do they go? Never mind Ronaldo not being there. As a manager, who's the next one up?
But are we? I don't think you can dismiss Ronaldo's presence and the effect that has had on the manager. So the manager's going and Ronaldo's going as well. A new manager comes in. It's like a clean slate. It's like, Ronaldo's been here for the last 21, 22 years. He's not here anymore. We can almost almost start afresh. Don't mean to make that sound disrespectful at all. Obviously, we know what his legacy is like, but like I said, his presence, I think emotionally might have had a strong impact on these players and the coach as well. So clean slate, and let's see what they can do.
Yeah, Phil, we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure it's a debate that's going to rage over the next few weeks. What's next for Portugal? Thanks for joining us today. We'll speak to you soon.